A C-Type and a DB3S Aston Martin on row 2. What's got the biggest engine? What's got the most power? The Allard J2X might look like the least aerodynamic car, does not get a good start, but from pole, Nick Thunberg gets an absolute flyer in that all-alloy Cooper Jag. However, the C-Type coming around the outside, and that is not Sam Hancock, so...
Yeah, Nigel Webb trying to tuck up the inside from the second row as well. So Fred Wakeman had a crack, but he's still in second place. Second in qualifying, second place changed for third place. The Allard being pushed out wide, and Nigel Webb starting very fast. And the second of those C-Types comes up into third position. Austin Healey 100 going super well.
Start behind the little low blue Cooper bobtail. So battle between our second and third place cars. The C-Type, Wakeman, and it's John Young in car number 24. So we heard from
Nigel Webb, actually, because I saw John Young, I'm fairly sure, walking into the pit garages, waiting to take the second stint. Right. But the first 6 cars have really made good their escape.
My name is Nigel Webb, and I'm the owner of chassis number XKC 004, which is one of the 4 works C-Types built in 1952. It's the oldest original Jaguar C-Type that exists. Incredibly, and most people know this story, when Sir William Lyons won the Le Mans and he developed the D-Type, the short-nosed D-Type for 54, he instructed them to dismantle for spares chassis number 1, 2 and 3, which were actually never registered for the road. They just drove them on trade plates. Of course, it's known as criminal today, but he didn't know what he was doing, what history he was throwing away. And so it's a very treasured car to be the oldest one that, you know, genuinely exists. It was only ever used as a spare car, and it did try and support the failure of the Le Mans in 1952, when Jaguar changed the bonnet and heating system to try and improve the speed. The car was owned by Duncan Hamilton, and it was stripped down for the bonnet and the radiator, so they decided they could go back to standard and still compete in the race. But unfortunately, when they did that, they did a lap or so, and the bottom line was they'd done the head gasket already, and so the race was terminal for them. It was raced by Duncan Hamilton from 1952 to 53, 54, very successfully. He only did major club racing, you know, the Dunrods and the Isbys, Silverstones here in Portugal with it, in the Portuguese Grand Prix in 53, and he crashed it royally, very royally, lost control, hit an electric pylon, dead square on, took the pylon went into the grille, into the radiator. I mean, it was a U shape. And he ended up in hospital, of course, because he was, you know, and they lost the electrics. And it turned out that the electrics failed in the hospital because of the pylon that he took out. And he always denied that he knew anything about it, you know. Duncan Hamilton, of course, was known as a really big character. I mean, he was Mr. Joker. Jaguar then effectively did rebuild it. And then he continued to race it a while after that. And then I think he was made an offer he couldn't refuse, and partied with it in the mid-50s. It was recommissioned for racing very late by myself and Wyn Percy, who taught me to drive. He was a lovely, lovely man, and he said to me, put it back to competition. And anyway, we engaged Gary Pearson Engineering, and he did a super job of putting it back on track. I suppose, being a little bit naive myself at the time, I had no concept of the differential between a competition car and something one goes down the pub in. And the whole suspension is changed, is stiffened, just for one. You know, the engine is obviously then overhauled and increased power where it's known you can do that within reason in safety without blowing it up. I'm going to try and define some of the differences between the production C-types and the works cars that were built. One interesting thing is the chassis plate is not completely stamped, and I approached the late Norman Jewis about this, and he said to me the reason we didn't stamp the chassis plates completely was so we could swap them around when we were doing export carnets to Le Mans in particular. Obviously it's sort of semi-illegal from the normal way of ever chassis plate being made, but just the way it was. The chassis is slightly lighter than a production car, and then you move on, because there's so much heat generated here from the exhaust, they put louvers in the sill to try and disperse some of the excess heat that is generated, from that sort of thing. One of the most easiest things to ID is the offside door. This is the only C-type in the world that actually has an offside door. It doesn't work, it's actually bolted up, but it's there. And as you can see, if you compare it to a production C-type, it doesn't have a door. The other feature is it has some works disc brakes fitted, which came off an aeroplane, which really are quite unsafe from the point of view you can outbrake yourself very, very easily. It's got 6 pot brakes on the front and 4 pot brakes on the back. And if you do your homework, probably the latest Ferrari or an equivalent car will have those brakes. Even a standard Aston and so on will probably only have 4 on the front and 2 on the back. It's just technology they couldn't calculate in 1951, 52. They just couldn't do it. It does have a fire system built in, and that is an optional thing. We can have a bottle inside the cockpit, or you can have a plumbed in system, and for safety and to protect the car, obviously, I ensure that we have the best that we can possibly get. Small feature which is interesting is the spotlight. The spotlight is used at Le Mans, and of course for the 9-hour race which we celebrated yesterday evening. The lights, of course, in relation to the speed, we're not allowed to put any modern bulbs in. They have to be kosher bulbs, absolutely as per, which are not good, because one's all got used to xenons and so on. So I've been racing it roughly since about 2005, and I've had some successes with it. I've been third here twice before this weekend, and yesterday I was very lucky and I made second with the aid of John Young. To be perfectly honest with you, as far as the race was concerned, I only qualified 7th. I had no illusions of getting to second place at all. Absolutely none whatsoever. And I don't even know how I did it. I do not know how I did it. I just conditioned the start, went for the start. It was quite a clean, safe start, which was nice. And I found I was able to hold on to the guy in front of me.
The Cooper barely visible between the two C-types, side by side for second place. And a change for second.
Fred Wakeman being passed and pushed back into third place by the Webb Young C-Type.
I was lying third, I think, at the point. And then you start to judge, could I overtake him, could I not? We drive our cars very carefully. Well, within reason, very carefully. Other people will think you're a lunatic.
Yeah, the Nigel Webb John Young C-Type really now trying to get the hammer down in second place. It's just crept away from the Wakeman Hancock car number 11.
What you do is you judge it. Yes, at that corner I can outbrake him, or I can go around the corner of another angle safely without losing the turn.
Battle for second place, the two C-Types still at it. The Webb and Young car number 24, number 11, Wakeman and Hancock.
And then eventually I overtook him, and then he hung on to me, and we had a super race up until when we had to change over halfway through. And yeah, it was a bit of I'd say luck. I suppose there was some skill in it, it had to be, but
And in come the
car from second place, the C-Type 24 and 11, but
and the Allard.
On went the Cooper. Now we can see what pace
And
the
the
Cooper
Healy.
bobtail can do. And John Young is driving as John Young does, hard. And he's chasing, and his lap times are improving by the lap. In fact, his last lap was better than Sam Hancock in the other C-Type at the sharp end of the field. So John Young, all those years of racing C-Types, just showing how it's done. There is the first race completed of the 2022 Goodwood Revival. Masterful drive at the front, huge entertainment, and a little bit of mathematical calculation just to keep us on our toes.
And a string of fastest laps in the second part of the race from Sam Hancock, really putting that car head and shoulders above the rest of the field. Second place, the number 24 C-Type, the Webb and Young car. Nigel Webb, John Young finishing in second.